Good morning, everybody. And what is an FA Cup weekend? So, as an older fan, which you can tell by my silver locks, the FA Cup means an awful lot to me. I know it's been a long time since Spurs have won it, and I know that lots of fans have fallen out of love with it. There is this big push always for top four, Champions League. Champions League will get you the best players. It means that we'll get more fans through the door. It means we'll be able to spend more, buy better players, and Everyone wants to win the Champions League and so on. I get all that. Absolutely get all that. Understand where people are coming from. I'm yet to see that from a Tottenham point of view, getting better players because we've been in the Champions League and so on. But if that's the case, that's the case. I'm sure there's evidence that proves that. But when it comes to the FA Cup, having been there and seen our captains lift the FA Cup, I can tell you there is no better feeling than seeing that happen. I commented on a Twitter post, X post, by Queen Ellie, asking this specific question. And there were some comments on there about people couldn't remember who's won the FA Cup for the last 5 years and it doesn't really matter and it's not important and so on. And I have to tell you, I'm 58 years of age, right? I know, I look good for it, right? I get it. But 58 years of age, and I can still remember going to my first FA Cup final in 1981, going to the replay, and I can still feel that energy and those memories of that time. So I'm not being funny, but I was probably 15 at the time, something like that. So 15, so 43 years ago, and I can still get that same pride and feeling from winning the FA Cup today. It's one of the best memories of my life, one of my best sporting memories for sure. To be able to be there and seeing when Steve went up to lift the FA Cup, I was there, and afterwards we all went to Trafalgar Square. We danced in the fountains. You could kind of do that back then, and chase the pigeons away. A few Man United fans came over, tried to have a bit of a rumble, but they got sent packing, the old Cockney Reds. But anyway, that aside, it was a fantastic day, a fantastic feeling. And like I said, it's one that's lived with me for the rest of my life. And it's one that I want my son, who's never been to a final, to feel and to see and to have. And one for my grandsons that I'd love to be able to take to a final like that and have that feeling and have that memory. So here we are, FA Cup weekend. And I'm excited about it. It's not going to be an easy game. We know that. These things generally aren't. And we don't have a great record in the FA Cup of late, going out, to teams that we should have been beating. And we're in that same boat now. It's not the easiest of draws, but it's not the hardest. You've got Burnley, who are very much struggling in the Premier League, fighting for their longer term survival, and for them you'd like to think that Premier League survival is probably a bit more on their agenda, although going back down into the Championship gives us an awful lot of money. So actually it's going down actually gives them a big balloon payment, but then it's of course the aggravation of getting back up again and so on. No one really wants to be a yo-yo club as such. But I would still think that probably their priorities are around survival. So maybe they won't come out full strength. Maybe they'll won't take it as seriously as they could. But that being said, it doesn't necessarily mean that the players they're going to put out are not going to be playing as hard as they can to get that result, to get that scalp, to be able to progress, because actually it gives good relief from the pressures of the Premier League when you get the opportunity to play in a different competition. So actually it's one of them, really. You just don't know what's going to happen. So for us, of course, we've been talking about for a long time the injuries, the suspensions, and so on and so forth. So I don't think that there is an awful lot that Ange can do in terms of changing players. I think the changes that he's going to have to make will be enforced changes. The squad isn't big enough to be able to manage these types of competitions that well. You may see Forster get a start, just to give Vic a bit of a break. Whether he needs it or not, I would suggest he doesn't. I think he's playing really, really well, and he's probably been one of our best players so far this season, most consistent. So to have him out for me would be a mistake. But I do kind of understand that there are other players that want to get a run out, that do want to play and so on, and Ange, to keep squad unity, may have to do some of that kind of stuff. But overall, I don't think he's able to change the squad so much. I think maybe Skip and Højbjerg will be in the centre. I think it seems likely with Sarr being off as well. Kulu had a break last weekend, so maybe he can get back into the team. Bentancur, maybe he continues to build his return back to full fitness. So that may be a positive, him coming back at this point. So it'll be interesting to see. I'll be interested to see what he does from here. Like I say, I don't think there's an awful lot more he can do. Solomon, I understand, maybe getting a bit more back to full fitness. Sonny obviously going off to the Asia Cup, so leaves a position over there. So potentially we could see Brennan Johnson go to the left, Kulu go to the right, with Richarlison up front. I think Richarlison needs to maintain his position. We haven't got another out-and-out striker in the squad, unless, of course, the view is that we can give Dane Scarlett a bit of a run out. But again, chucking him back into the squad at this stage, without playing an awful lot of football, seems a bit counterintuitive. I think for me, with Richarlison kind of hitting form and scoring 5 in 5, it makes sense for him to continue to kind of keep building on what he's doing, because he is a confidence player. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But I don't think there'll be too many changes. I think the changes that we'll see will be the enforced ones due to players going off or being injured and so on. But yeah, so we'll see how it kind of pans out. I think obviously defensively we're just Royal and Davis at the back there, building a little bit of a relationship, I guess. I know it's not perfect, but I don't think Ben Davies has let us down, and to a certain extent, I don't think Emerson Royal's let us down too much. It's not the most stable partnership. It's not the one that makes you feel confident at the back, but I guess it is what it is. They are the players that we've got, and that's what we're going to have to work with. Hopefully, that gives another one more week for the other guys. Your Van der Vens, your Romeros, your Madisons, your Solomons, to kind of get back into full fitness. And fingers crossed, maybe we'll start to see Sessegnon coming back, and if he can come back and play in his favoured position as a left winger rather than a left wing back, maybe he could actually start doing something, and showing why we paid the money we paid for him and why he's been around for so long. It would be good to see him get his career back on track, because it must have been an awful time for him. As frustrating as it is for us as fans, I can imagine it being very, very frustrating for him. So anyway, look, I just wanted to emphasise how important I think the FA Cup is. I think it's one of the things that keeps fans, on the edge of their seats. It's a massive competition. I love seeing, the smaller teams playing the bigger teams and so on, and the money that generates for their clubs and so on. So it will be good to really, really keep some momentum going in that. And I think for fans that have fallen out of love with the FA Cup, I think if we can go all the way, or even, fairly far in it, I think that'll build that interest again. And I don't care whether you can remember that Tottenham won it 5 years ago or whatever. I can tell you I can remember them winning it 43 years ago, the first time I saw them win it. And I've seen them win it subsequently. I've been there a few times when we've won the FA Cup. So, listen, I can tell you, honestly, hand on my heart, it's one of the best experiences I've had as a football fan, is seeing my team lift, the oldest football trophy in the world. And it means a lot to me. And I know there are fans out there that feel the same. But because we've been starved of this feeling for so long, people forget what it feels like. And I can tell you, seeing the team go down on an open bus along Tottenham High Road is fantastic. The fans turn out, they block up the road. You see your team lift it up like that. Honestly, there's no feeling like it. I can thoroughly recommend it. So all I'd ask is, don't fall out of love with the FA Cup. Don't write it off. It's a stepping stone to more and more and more. And when Ozzy came over and Chaz and Dave did the song Ozzy's Going to Wembley, that's because that FA Cup meant a lot. It meant a lot to Ozzy Ardiles, a guy from Argentina who just won the World Cup, and he wanted to win the FA Cup. That tells you what it meant then. And I don't see any reason why it shouldn't mean that now. Unless, of course, all you're interested is in money. You're not Daniel Levy. You're not owners of this club. You're a fan. You're a supporter. You want to see some glory. You want to see something worth being proud of. And just being able to get a fourth spot, or potentially even these days a fifth spot or whatever, that's not success. Not for me. But listen, it's all about money, I guess, to be able to progress. I'll believe it when I start to see it for my club. But anyway, there you go. I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. Up the Spurs.